Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Father James. This is a very special episode because this week marks the 5th anniversary of the first ever Coffee with Father James. That's why I have brought out from storage the original Coffee with Father James coffee mug. That's right, it's the Gary Larson Far Side Aerobics in Hell. And this was the cup that I found in the pastor's office, among a lot of other things, and this is what we first started using, and it's an old favorite, as is Gary Larson, of course. I also come to you from the exact same park bench as I sat on 5 years ago. At least I'm pretty sure it was this one. Maybe you can check out this footage right here. You can see it is, I believe, the same park bench. The priest, though, is a little different. He's a little plumper and a little more gray of head than the guy 5 years ago. That's what happens to you, time. But speaking about time, a lot has happened in our parish 5 years ago. Just to remember, you remember 5 years ago we were in the middle of COVID. That's right, COVID. And we had just undergone this kind of shotgun wedding between 4 different parishes. We were basically told that we were now one. Not just the 2 had become one, the 4 had become one. And that happened on January 1st. COVID, everything else. It was a time of great disorientation, disunity, confusion, a lot of anxiety, I think, because we're struggling with a sense of loss of identity. But obviously I could talk at great length about what's happened since then, but I wanted to sum up a few things. I remember about 4 to 5 years ago making a joke that Jesus had said, the harvest is plentiful, laborers are few, and that in our parish, buildings were plentiful and parishioners were few. Well, I'm glad to tell you that over the last 5 years, our buildings have become less plentiful and our parishioners have become less few. So we had 14 buildings to begin with, within a 2-mile radius, and because we sold 2 locations, each of those locations had 2 buildings each, and we have demolished the old school building recently, made it into a parking lot. That gives us a grand total of 9 buildings now, so that's not bad. That's not bad. But we have reduced the number of buildings, but our numbers are up. Our numbers are more than double what they were when I first came to you. 5 years ago, it was in COVID, we didn't have anyone. But even after we first started regular masses, our numbers have increased significantly. So that's the first main thing. The second main thing is unity. Unity. Jesus said that by our visible unity, we would give witness that the Father sent the Son, that the Father is in the Son is in the Father. And Jesus even prayed in John chapter 17, Father, may they be so one that the world would believe. And we often use that scripture passage to refer to Christian unity among our separated brethren, non-Catholic Christians. But it equally can be applied to local churches and even the relationship between different parishes, and especially our situation when 5 years ago, 5 communities became one. And there was at times a degree of suspicion, disunity, sometimes a harshness or a hardness of heart that was expressed towards those other people. And it was one of the reasons why when we were able to have Sunday Mass, again in our locations, that we decided to only have one Sunday Mass in one location, because we needed to bring people together. We needed to overcome these kind of parochial tribes that had developed over the decades, because the mission demanded that we allow the Lord to make us one so that our witness could be all the greater. And here we are 5 years later, and there's been a tremendous transformation. The people who were part of the former parishes, I think, have really taken on this new identity of Our Lady of Guadalupe. I don't hear a lot anymore about St. Peter's this and St. Anthony's this and St. Paul's and Immaculate Conception. So there's been an incredible growth for that reason in terms of how our hearts have been changed, our hearts have been softened, we come to see things differently, but also because in the last 5 years, probably at least 40% of our parishioners were not part of any of these original parishes. They are new to our parish. So unity, a real sense of unity. And the third thing is the ultimate reason why we exist, and that's changed lives. That people through our parish have encountered Jesus. They've come into a relationship with Jesus. They've returned to the sacraments. The sacrament of reconciliation, the sacrament of the Eucharist has taken on new purpose. People have developed a prayer life. They've discovered the scriptures, and they've discovered a hunger for God, for more, and a desire to serve and take ownership of the mission and to live it out is very exciting. And that's ultimately what we're here for, to make disciples, to form disciples, to equip disciples for mission, and to send them out. And a testimony of how that's happened took place about a month ago on the Feast of Pentecost. You may remember we had a special moment after the homily at each of the Masses where we invited people to come forward. And this is what we said: if you can say in the last couple of years that Jesus has transformed my life, not just, I grew closer to God or my faith was renewed, but that Jesus has really changed your life, would you come forward so we could pray a blessing over you? And the entire weekend, well, we had a lot of people. It was amazing. In fact, there's a link in the notes below to the homily on Pentecost weekend. But that weekend, 124 people came forward to say that Jesus had transformed their lives. And ultimately, that is the reason for our buildings. That's the reason for the merger. That's the reason for the unity that we strive for, is that ultimately we can fulfill the mission of going out and making disciples of all nations. So thank you, everyone, and happy anniversary.